Today's just the start of the Big 12 and Power 5 talk to come. Listen to JJ and Alex Monday on your drive home. Afternoons from 3 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back into First and 12. Mitch, Harper, and Alex Kirry with you. We're reacting to the college football playoff rankings that got released earlier tonight. 5 teams in the Big 12 are ranked in this week's rankings. Number 5, Texas Tech. 11, BYU. 13, Utah, down 1 spot from last week. Arizona State at 20, up 5, and then Arizona at 25. And, you know, well, the great thing about the playoff rankings is that there's always great dialogue and conversation trying to nitpick every stat possible, Alex, to really justify a certain team. And I think that's kind of one of the great things about college football.
Well, you say great. On weeks like this, there are people who are not real happy with how this thing gets explained away.
Sure.
Let's jump in because I do want to get into some of our sound from these things. And I've got one that I don't think you've heard yet. You may have because you're on top of a lot of this stuff, but a lot of our audience probably has not heard this because the commissioner, tell me Yurachek's first name of the
Hunter.
Hunter Yurachek, who you asked a question of last week, and he had his first go at answering those questions. We're going to start off with something that he said to Reese Davis that's making the rounds on Twitter here. It's part of our Big 12 Sound Roundup. Let's jump into the Sound Roundup right now.
Big 12 Sound Roundup.
Check 1, 2.
The best bites, cheap shots, and excuses from Saturday's postgame news conferences.
Mitch, please tell me. Actually, I hope you haven't heard it yet. The back and forth between Reese Davis and Hunter Yurachek, the commissioner, or the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee, when asked about specifically the drop for Ole Miss this week, here's what he had to say about it right off the bat here. You're going to love this one.
Change at 6-7 with Oregon and Ole Miss swapping spots. How much of an impact potentially could it be on Ole Miss if it's determined they don't have their head coach in the field? 6-7. But seriously, Rich, we did.
That's all it went to. And then it was, but seriously, Reese, Mitch.
That's awful. 6-7 needs to be officially done.
When a 64-year-old is talking on the college football playoff and tries to make a joke about the future of this college football team and goes 6-7, and then he stares at the ESPN host, and everyone goes, anyway, but seriously, it's like, no, but seriously, you just threw your credibility out the window. And I mean, I guess of all the programs who are going to get that kind of a treatment, Ole Miss probably seems right for their, forward-thinking, cutting-edge head coach Lane Kiffin is probably on the way out the door. We had that conversation about whether or not, on our show today, about whether or not Lane Kiffin, if he's going to be the steady head coach there at Ole Miss, or if he's not, and it seems like he's not going to be that guy. And they're going to make that announcement likely on Friday, right? The athletic director at Ole Miss said that that's going to be the case after the Egg Bowl. So that happens. I want to know, one, how much his team is going to be fighting for him this week, knowing probably what the reality is. And then, two, what's it going to be like after it's all said and done? Not just if they lose, but maybe if they even just kind of struggle a little bit against them. If the committee goes, this program is in it, we can't put them in good faith knowing that they are going to be missing their leader and that half of these kids are not going to be into it and playing their butts off this week. And that's going to ruin these young kids, man. I'm telling you, it's a bad deal, this coaching situation. And the coaching carousel needs to just go away until after the season. I get you got to strike while the iron's hot. But, man, let these guys coach. Let these guys figure it out. Or just make the deal and say, but he's going to coach just like the North Texas guy did. Eric Morris is going to do the same thing. Hey, I'm going to coach this thing all the way through because we might go to the college football playoff. And some of those kids, again, are going to be fighting to try to maybe go, coach, pick me when you go up to Oklahoma State. I hope that that's the case. But to have the commissioner of this committee say that, it's garbage, Mitch. It's just absolute trash. It means nothing to them is what it feels like. And I know we laugh about it, but like it's kind of a lame, unprofessional thing to make a stupid joke like that in the middle of that thing when they're trying to figure out who the best teams in college football are. This is not an insignificant amount of money that's on the line here for these teams.
Well, and that's the great point here is that so much is on the line. Jobs are on the line. I mean, you mean to tell me if you're like a Miami or you're a BYU, to get into the playoff, what that could do for those coaches. I'm sure there's some, contracts or bonuses that come with reaching the playoffs. Right. I mean, so much on the line to get to this playoff, and this guy comes in last week to replace Mack Rhoades, the former Baylor AD, as this committee chairman, and he's rolling in with the 6-7 joke. I mean, it's so tone deaf, but it's so the college football playoff committee and just this whole operation, the college football playoff, where they just seem like they're putting together a beauty pageant. And, when you look at the Big 12, and I honestly get worried about what could potentially be, for the Big 12 if it is Texas Tech and BYU in Arlington. I think we all assume that if BYU won, they're going to be in the playoff, rightfully so, because, my goodness, a 12-1, Big 12 champion, absolutely, that should be a first-round bye, to be quite honest with you. It wouldn't be a bid stealer, as Reese Davis was painting it out to be. But I get worried that, if Texas Tech lost by a touchdown to BYU, do they drop the Red Raiders 6 spots? We saw Alabama go from number 4 to number 10. Who's to say that we don't see Texas Tech drop 6 spots and then they're outside the playoff? I would be absolutely floored if that happened, but I don't trust this committee, because this just adds to the issues I have with this group, where they just kind of make a joke of everything. And look, he's trying to be lighthearted and be funny, because every broadcaster now that says 6-7, they're pointing to it. You watch Feast Week basketball, they're saying 6-7. Even the Houston basketball game last night, when it was tied at 67 with Syracuse, they brought up the 6-7. Everyone's doing it, but it's like, this is so kind of serious, the playoff, because really jobs and job security and bonuses and money and the conference money and the perception of these leagues is on the line and tethered to this playoff, and this guy's going 6-7.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, listen,
come on.
Yeah, I hope it's lived its. Again, when a 64-year-old, committee chair is making that joke on national television, I just love that he sat there and waited for Reese Davis's reaction, like wah, 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 wah. It was so bad. Speaking of so bad, before the college football playoff rankings came out, I think we all kind of saw that Utah potentially could have been jumped by Miami in this college football playoff ranking, and it ended up happening. The thing was I didn't feel comfortable with how they were explaining away how this was going to work, or why they should be jumping Utah into the spot that they are. I just don't think Miami has lost 2 out of their last 4 games, Mitch. It's not like they've lost a couple games like Notre Dame, 4 months ago, and they're on a 10-game win streak. Their biggest thing is that they've beaten Notre Dame. And I think that actually is the thing that keeps them up as high as they are in there as well, because it helps keep Notre Dame inside the top 10. And even though I feel like that's a slam dunk, just keep Notre Dame in there. I think they're playing well enough. I think 70-7 over Syracuse is enough this last week for people to go, yeah, you know what? It's not just a fluke. They were in the national championship game last year. Marcus Freeman's a great coach. But this was Scott Van Pelt and Stanford Steve on Scott Van Pelt's podcast last night, talking about this very scenario. And here's what the argument, and just tell me what you think goes on in here, and I'll give you my thoughts, but here's what he said.
Utah's only top 25 win is against Arizona State without Sam Leavitt. That's it.
And they got obliterated by Texas Tech. Miami doesn't have a bad loss like that. I get it. They lost to Louisville by 3, and Beck threw a bunch of picks. And they lost to SMU, who, by the way, now is in overtime at their field, and now they got to get a chance to play in the playoff.
Correct.
But somehow that was a bad loss. I'm throwing up the U. I want them in just because I think they're talented.
What if that's the 5-12, Miami at Eugene?
Oh, buddy.
Yeah. So you kind of hear in that attitude too, Mitch, like what they want to see, and that is Miami, a big brand, against a big brand in Oregon. I mean, that's not a great matchup. But at the same time, you just say those two brands, and then we're supposed to get excited about it. I think that shows kind of a little bit more of a big deal. Let's take another break here. We'll come back. We've got our second hour of First and 12 right around the corner. Stay here with us. It is 102.7 FM at 1160 AM.